Yeah, just the way it is. Okay, so I think we might as well kick off now. It's nearly 5 minutes past. We've got a nice number of people joining us, well over 100. Please introduce yourself in the chat. A couple of things to note. We will be having questions and answers at the end of the conversation, at the end of the webinar. Feel free to throw your questions in there as you think of them, because you might forget going down like 2 minutes later, you'd forget what you want to ask, and then we'll circle back and answer as many questions as we can. Um, and yeah, we'll kick off. Let me start by introducing our guests on the panel today. So we've got Thomas Gunkel from Skyline Communications Dataminer. He's the market director of broadcast. So Thomas, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate having you join us at this conversation.
Morning, good afternoon, everyone. And yeah, great to be here. Great to be with all the tech experts.
Excellent. And we have actually, do you know what I've done? I forgot to introduce myself. Now I'm going to get in trouble because I was told to introduce myself first. So I'm going to take a big sorry here. I'm Ivan Geraghty. I'm a TAG technical account manager based in Sydney, Australia, as you've already heard earlier. So forgive my faux pas there. And let me move on to Michael. Michael Dem is our VP of Product Strategy. He's based over in Canada, so a completely different time zone, early in the morning for him. Michael, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ivan. Thanks for the introductions. Yes, I'm in Toronto, Canada. And we wanted to talk about very important subject in our industry. I think for many customers, it's actually number one subject. I remember walking into one of the meeting rooms for a customer a couple of years ago, and they had their strategy meeting just before that, and I saw their whiteboard, and it said big letters, automation, everything automation. And since then, I've talked to many customers around the globe in different regions, different countries, and automation is always top of the mind. There is many reasons why that is so important. One reason is the constant migration to new technologies. You always have to learn new stuff, and it's really hard to keep up. So the more we can automate, the less people have to deal hands-on with new technologies, the better. The second reason probably is the scale that they're dealing with. The scale of operations that incrementally, since COVID and even before that, incrementally growing. There is a lot more channels to get to the consumer. There's OTT distribution, there's the traditional old school broadcast, cable distribution, but there is new technologies like fast channels, and we constantly have to feed those with more and more content. So production and a lot of channels are moving to more to like event-based streaming, event-based production, and that just increases the scale that we're dealing with several times. And then the depth of the technology that they have to deal with absolutely requires automation and requires efficiency, because there's new technologies, there's new layers introduced. I was earlier this year in Geneva for EBU meeting where we discussed new media exchange layer, and that is going to change a lot the production and the play out parts of our industry. So in order to deal with all that, automation is one thing, but you also have to deal with monitoring and get all the observability of all those technologies and all those parts in the distribution chain right in front of your eyes, and know exactly where things happening, when they happening, and why they happening, right? So that you can quickly react to changes and problems. So in order for that to happen, we need at least two things. or actually one thing, but kind of I divide it always to two layers. So one, I'm talking about monitoring, but there's different approaches to monitor horizontally. Horizontally, I mean from one end to another, from production to distribution to delivery to the end consumer, but also vertically. Vertically meaning the depth of monitoring. It's not just enough to monitor your switches and routers as an infrastructure, but you have to go deeper into, hey, I need to understand what services are going through my distribution network, right? So and also understand what connects all those services, what moves the pixels from point A to point B. So there is a lot of that involved in our day-to-day dealing with the broadcasters and service providers in our industry.
That's a pretty interesting point there, Michael. So we're talking about a couple of different things here. We've got increased complexity with the more services, the more platforms, the more formats that everyone's delivering. But on top of that, we've also got all the different applications, the different services that are driving these things. So we're monitoring things across kind of two different planes. We've got the horizontal and vertical monitoring. So, Thomas, if I could ask you, I mean, from your perspective, you'd probably look at things from a vertical perspective, but I mean, how would you look at these different types of monitoring between horizontal and vertical monitoring?
Yeah, there's always interesting opinions and discussions when people talk about monitoring. In the past, this was really mostly people watching, doing eyeball monitoring on the TV set, watching a video signal. That has changed since many, many years. And then
Okay.
we started monitoring more this horizontal layer, more following like the signal chain from contribution towards an MCR equipment, going into production, distribution across all the different ways, no matter if it's OTT, satellite, or cable TV, and doing this end to end. And when we say we do monitoring, again, on a horizontal layer, there's many, many things you need to monitor. We always say you need to monitor everything that contributes somehow to the health of your service, of your linear channel or streaming service, doesn't matter, everything that somehow contributes. And you said it already, this is all the infrastructure you need, media equipment, network, your video server, your contribution equipment. What you do when you talk about monitoring, you obviously monitor the video audio quality. That's also one aspect. We at Skyline, we monitor more the infrastructure and interface with your equipment on that horizontal layer. But since a couple of years, we see monitoring is more complex because a lot of media equipment that were in the past more appliances where you had like one single box to monitor, you now talk about applications, software applications. And when you monitor that software application, that is already a good step forward. But you see that you also have to monitor the underlying equipment. And that starts with your data center equipment, with the hardware, with the servers, with the operating systems that you need to monitor. Then we talk about virtual machines. There is another layer in between, and more you see microservice-based applications around, and you need to monitor everything. And why is it? To really, for one big reason, to find the root cause of the problem. If you would only monitor your, let's say, playout media application, that's fine, that fails. It can be failing because the playout media application fails, but it can also be failing because you have a problem with your underlying hardware or something in the network. So monitoring all those points, everything that contributes to the health state of your service, that's key. For us, that's infrastructure, horizontally, more following the signal chain, but then also vertically, really from top to bottom, to be sure you find and you are able to identify the root cause of your problem in case things go wrong.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because we're really kind of scratching the surface here on how big horizontal and vertical monitoring are and the things that we have to do to ensure, we're able to deliver a first-class service to our customers. One of the interesting things I think is that when I think about horizontal monitoring, in the past you'd have linear channels and the OTT channels, and they wouldn't talk to each other. They're both using different monitoring tools and different metrics to see how things are working, but they're still delivering end-to-end from play out to the customer at the end, a service. But traditionally they're siloed, so no one knows what they're doing. And in today's kind of modern way forward, it's important to have a really clear view of everything in the chain, that horizontal view, along with your vertical applications. Um, and that's, really interesting because I wonder about our audience listening to this, how many people in their institutions now have a really clear view of like end-to-end, like horizontal monitoring, where they've got the same tools monitoring all the different components, and they're also able to monitor vertically how the health of their networks and their equipment is running, their software is running. That'd be interesting if you could drop it into the chat just to let us know. And then coming on like from all this different types of monitoring, horizontal and vertical, then we have to start thinking about, from monitoring to action, and once a problem is detected, speed matters. We need to think about how do leading media organizations use automation to reduce MTTR, mean time to resolution, or even find um, ways around noticing when that problem happens and addressing those problems before they become critical. Michael, have you got any insights into how our customers are doing that or looking at this today?
Uh, yeah, so uh, um, just 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 to complete that vertical line of thought, even in our space where we focus on monitoring the services themselves, like the video channels, the programs, the vertical becomes deeper and deeper those days. If in the past we focused on monitoring video and audio, today we have a lot more to deal with. There's a lot of metadata, and
Mhm.
even inside the video itself, there's like things for like HDR, for example, that comes with its own set of metadata. And on top of that, there's like the SCTI markers and closed captions. And closed captions today are automatically generated, so they need a level of QC to go through before you can send them to the consumers. So there's a lot more to deal with within those services. And that leads us to the part that I started with, which is automating this work. For example, the captions. You don't want, or we have less and less people to create the captions in those days. It's all done automatically. The captions are generated by AI services, but they also need to be monitored the same way, right? And we focused on providing more insights. Creating an end-to-end visibility is important. And this is where TAG's focus has been in the last couple years, is really to show one uh, one point where the problem may be originating and get the focus of the operators to that point instead of them trying to figure out within all this complexity what is going on. So complete end-to-end visibility also becomes easier today because companies and content owners, they have more visibility into the rest of the chain. They start owning those companies, right? We've seen a lot of consolidation in the market where the same organization owns the production, the creation of the content, but also direct to consumer services. So they actually have visibility into the entire chain. And those that don't, they request more and more from their distribution channels to have visibility into their environment and get information in real time about the quality, the latency. Let's not forget latency. Latency is a subject that I personally very close to as part of the work that TAG is doing with the Streaming Video Technology Alliance, the SVTA. So reducing latency, reducing latency of alarming, meaning alarm in real time and not just 5 minutes later, because every minute is important. All that contributes to reduced time to repair. And the more and the better automated and the better clear, alarming and explanation and insights into this data that we can provide, the better the operators will do their job.
And I suppose that's
Absolutely.
also a big part for you, Thomas, right? At Skyline is that automation part.
Yeah, that's key for us. We started as a monitoring solution many years back, and the automation was obviously the next thing we have added 20 years back or so into Dataminer. And that's really about acting on the fact that something went wrong. So as we discussed, first of all, we need to find out that something went wrong already or is going to be wrong. We will also talk about this in a few minutes. And based on the fact that we ideally can identify the root cause, we can act. And acting is using automation often. Automation in a simple sense, we can do a simple reroute of a signal to a backup instance. But there's more complexity nowadays. This is something we've done maybe manually in the past, but now think of having some equipment running in the cloud and the cloud instance goes down. To fix that problem, you have to provision a new instance somewhere else. You need to spin up a new instance, configure it, reroute signals to it, apply a configuration to it. That's something you cannot do in a manual way anymore. And that's where automation takes place. What's also important, you see a lot of customers, they're a bit afraid of automation. Let me say it like that. It's not that we want to automate everything, but automation is here used more to assist operators. It's not that we in Dataminer identify a problem and magically everything is self-healing and happens fully automated. It's more assisting the operator saying, hey, very likely this is the root cause. You give it a check, you get some easy to use user interface to do assisted healing. That can be a message on Slack, on Teams, notifying somebody saying, oh, something is not quite right. Do you want to do this? Do you want to switch to a backup instance? Do you want to provision another instance in the cloud? And that's how we see automation really helping operators to bring the service back on air, or ideally switch to a backup instance before things go actually wrong.
So in that instance, their Dataminer is using automation as a control system where they're making decisions, and the problem happens, they're spinning things up or making corrections to try and limit the problem that's happening.
And that's always what we emphasize a lot, that monitoring and control means control/automation needs to go together. We see a lot of customers, they have separate automation and separate monitoring tools, especially when you think of more the IT part of the monitoring, enterprise monitoring, network monitoring. This is usually, and we see that a lot, still pretty much disconnected from the broadcast operations, but that needs to go together. Doesn't really help when you can identify you have a network problem or you have a problem with your server, you need to reboot it, but you would not know what's the impact on any of your linear channels or streaming channels. And also vice versa, when you identify a problem and you want to use automation, that needs to go together. Otherwise, you have a disconnect in that workflow.
Right, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Right, traditionally, monitoring and control systems were siloed, separate. They weren't, brought together. But I think, Michael, this is showing us that bringing them together, will bring a lot of benefits that customers can use to protect their services.
And yes, and we see that more and more. You see, some of the white hair I have on this side of my head is because of this issue. IT and broadcast, they totally separate. Even today, they absolutely silent. There are some companies that begin to realize that they have to break those barriers between IT and the broadcast. And we see more and more talent also moving from one side to another, and more skilled people going into the broadcast side. It's happening naturally because as you start providing services like FAST and OTT, and you have to go to the cloud and you have to deal with new technologies, and you just cannot operate TV services anymore without getting IT involved in that. So it happens in some areas, but unfortunately not fast enough. And we need to see that those barriers broken faster and
Yeah.
sooner to help us and help us provide better service. And also, the monitoring will become much better because we will have all the information that the person sitting in front of the monitor that operates and has a critical event going on, tennis match or soccer game, whatever, they need to all the details they can have from the network layer, from the operating system, from everywhere to really understand and understand the problems. We're dealing with things like connectivity issues that may or may not originate in the network protocols, but they affect the video. So you see video problems, and you think, oh, it's the encoder, it's the packager is causing that. No, it's actually the infrastructure that this video going through. And those things we're trying to connect them together. And I think Skyline does a great job of connecting different metrics from various vendors all together and presenting it as a single dashboards.
Yeah, a good example is always, I'm sure everybody listening here has seen that, is PTP. That's something that goes wrong sometimes. It's not obvious that you have a PTP issue because the impact is somewhere different. Your video, your audio might not show up anymore, or you have some hiccups, but the root cause is more on the network side. And that's something we need to be able to identify. And maybe let me just add one more comment here. We talked about IT people, broadcast, but there's much more in a big organization. You have the people being responsible for the ticketing systems. So that needs to be going together. You have people doing plant maintenance. There is also an impact when you replace something, when you have to replace some hardware. You need to manage that. You need to automate also those processes and work with the same data set. So it's IT, it's operations, it's engineering, but so many more other operational areas as well that needs to go together. And when we talk about automation, we talked about using automation to fix problems, but much more we see that you need to use or shall use automation also for more the service provisioning, for the configuration. That's something you've done maybe in a more manual way in the past. You set it up once, you run your linear channel for years. Now everything is more dynamic. And using automation, spinning up and configuring things with the right metrics, with the right config, that's key. And there's also where automation helps a lot.
And I think we will see more and more. So automation is something we as humans can plan and direct the equipment to act upon. So it's like if then in the code, right? But I think we're gonna see more and more smart automation. I know I only mentioned AI once in this call so far, but that's probably the time to introduce this subject.
Yeah.
And if we're looking forward into like 2-3 years, and I probably will, because things are happening so fast. Not only our industry, actually, our industry has nothing to do with AI, really, other than being the consumers of that technology. But I think we will see a lot more real automated, something that happens. I don't know what the actual word to describe it, but self-automated maybe, or decisions that are made by the machines for us based on all this amount of data that we're collecting. And there is tremendous amount of data. As we spoke, all the different components vertically and horizontally produce tons of logs and produce tons of metrics and data that needs to be processed in real time. And the only way to deal with this is tools like machine learning and AI. So we're already seeing this being implemented in some tools. TAG is also looking at ways to improve things using AI. And we've seen how AI tools not only helping people, but improving their efficiency many times.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ivan, about AI?
Well, I think AI is really interesting, right? Because there's As we know, there's a lot of things it can do. If you feed it the right data and you train the models properly, you can get some real good efficiencies out of that. I think I'm really interested to understand our customers generate a lot of data, like you just said, whether through the horizontal, vertical monitoring, all that data is there for them to use and crunch. Now, if they can use that in-house to train their AI models, they could
Yeah.
get something really meaningful. So I'm interested to understand or hear from everyone on the call if that's something they're looking at in their companies. Are they looking to do some AI training on the data they're producing for their operational efficiencies? Is this something they want to do in-house? Are they looking for AI partners to come in with their models and help integrate with their workflows? I mean, it's a big conversation, and I think, in the next 3 to 5 years, it's going to be a big change in the landscape. But again, to your point earlier, I think to Thomas's point earlier is that these are going to be tools that are going to help us be more efficient in what we're doing, and give people a different avenue of approaching their work. Thomas, what do you think about AI in the vertical and horizontal space and using it to drive automation?
Yeah, AI is used, as you said, in many, many different areas. We also use it in Dataminer to do, let's say, better monitoring. Started already a couple of years back. Just a few examples. You can use AI to do prediction. That's what we started with 6 or 7 years back, to say, oh, we see a trend on maybe a single parameter that can be the free memory on a Windows operating system going down. And knowing that, you can predict when this trend goes on for another couple of hours or days, you have a problem. Another example is SFP monitoring on your 2110 network. Those are real life problems where we see SFPs slowly failing, and using AI and using those prediction mechanisms, we can generate alarms saying, hey, when this trend doesn't stop in the next couple of hours, you have a true problem, then you go off air. But alarming or sending those alarms or notifications up front, you have ample time to switch to backup to fix the problem before it becomes a real problem for your service. There's many other things also on good examples we see also together with you guys on multi-point probing, where in the past, when you had a problem on the incoming side or the ingress of your services, you got hundreds or thousands of alarms. And you could build correlation rules, manual operations, Java to put those rules together. Now we are using AI to automatically group alarms together and to identify the root cause. And instead of having thousands of alarms, AI puts things together and says, okay, there is very likely a root cause here. And why is it? How can we do that? And that's a very important aspect. We need to have as much data and as much context as possible. And one set of data we need here in that example is we need to know which probes, which infrastructure belongs to a service. We have that data usually. And being able to say, okay, those servers, those operating systems, those media applications, those probing points all belong to the very same service in different areas, locations. When we have that context, when we know when a service is supposed to start and stop, because it might not be a permanent service, we have all the right context, good data to do better predictions, to identify anomalies, and use AI to do better monitoring. And I guess that's always key, because a lot of people play with AI. I say play with AI. You need to have a good set of data first. Otherwise, your AI will not do anything. A lot of people, they try to collect as much data as possible, but not necessarily looking into, let's say, the right or the good data. And when you have bad data,
Let's not
AI
forget that
doesn't make it any better.
the more data we collect, um, it costs us a lot, right? There's a cost to have data and store the data and process the data. And AI, because it's so fast and so smart, it's actually saving us cost because it can process the data and can provide the insight. So we should really see this an investment to protect our revenue, because the better the data, the better the tools that process the data and can react upon, the better the quality of the service is going to be. And that's the one thing that everybody is after, is quality of your service. because that drives revenue, that keeps the customers, reduces churn, all the things that we're concerned all the time. Should we maybe talk about what TAG and Dataminer have to offer to
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just going to
industry?
throw a quick question out there to the end right here to lead us into this. And I was just going to ask, how does integrating tools like TAG and Dataminer help achieve true end-to-end visibility across a media workflow? So, Thomas, I'll let you take that question.
I started sharing my screen, just checking. Can you see that one?
You can see your
Just to be
screen.
sure I didn't.
We can see. I hope the
That's good.
audience can
Okay.
see it as
I
well.
clicked the right button. That's good news. Yeah, we talked a lot about all the challenges, things ahead of time. Let's talk a little bit about how to get started, how we work together. On that first slide, you see the basics in case you have not seen us working together, in case you don't know what Dataminer, what TAG does exactly. How do we work together? We have our Dataminer platform, and one of the core functionalities is our data collection control plane. And there we write so-called connectors. And those connectors, they allow us to integrate with any system that has an API or an SDK or something available we can interface with. And that's the case for TAG. You have plenty of open APIs. You expose all the functionality that we can monitor everything or get all the data from TAG. That's specifically about the channels, the health state, KPIs, metrics, parameters. But we can also configure a system. Configuration is about switching a layout, provisioning a TAG MCM instance, etc. Everything that is required to have it properly attached to the service or configured. That's really the foundation. And Michael, on the other part of that slide, what you see, that's more, where is TAG used, like from contribution to distribution all over the place. And there we see the horizontal layer, right? We discussed before.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you were saying there, Thomas. The bottom part here is that horizontal layer across the whole end-to-end workflow.
Do we need a monitoring tool for PowerPoint? Is it...
Yeah. Are you looking to go to the next slide?
There we go.
Oh, here we go.
That's a great example of the vertical monitoring, where we see the different layers in the stage of producing the show, right? Once we get the content from the studio, the track, the stadium. Before that, when in hardware only era, we had everything in all in one. You just plug an SDI cable and you get some video and audio. But today, lots of those tools are virtualized or maybe even in the cloud. And we have more and more technologies that require to support that. So one of the layers just after the application is how do we exchange the video and content between the different parts of the process, or audio processing, visual mixers, graphics insertions, SCSI insertions, things like that. So you have to exchange the video frames between the different components, and then we touched on containerization and automation with tools like Kubernetes and other cloud tools to orchestrate all this environment and put it all together as one living organism. And of course, let's not forget, even though we all writing software here, but software has to run on some hardware. But this hardware is standardized today, so we're running on things like off-the-shelf servers or cloud instances or VMs, but it needs to be monitored because there is a lot of things that can go wrong. So hardware, data flow, networks, in the network there's a lot of components that influence. So this just shows an example of the depth that monitoring tools have to deal with today.
And that's a good point. We saw that horizontal layer where we have those connectors or integrations with all the equipment, but then you have more integration points, and that starts with the hardware. You need those connectors for your servers, be it Dell, HP, or anything like that. Network, all your Cisco, Arista switches, whatever you use, the virtualization layer from VMware, the operating systems, be it Linux or Windows, and all the data needs to come together then. And that's what we call here this digital twin, which is having a set of proper clean data. And based on that, we have a set of, let's say, workflows, automation engines, processing, orchestration capabilities, a set of tools. We call it Dataminer stack tools that you can use to build your own solution. And own solution can be either something that runs in the background as automation. There is no user interface attached to it, and only Dataminer experts would look into that and to the part of the automation or configure it. But more and more you see certainly user interfaces targeted for operational areas. That's more the data consumption. Mm-hmm. And what we can do and what we prepared in the next like 10, 15 minutes, we have still before we look into the Q&A.
We have some use cases to show the exactly how our customers using TAG and Dataminer together.
We talked about, let's say, complex operations, the end-to-end things you want to achieve over time, but you have to start somewhere. And starting somewhere is really get a Dataminer system deployed, have your TAG instance running, and go to our catalog, download those connectors for TAG. They are available out of the box. They are the same for every customer. There is one for a TAG MCM system, one for a TAG MCS system available. And then we also provide, we call it off-the-shelf applications, low-code applications. And here is an example. When you go to our catalog, and we can share the link later, you can download those, that what we call TAG management app. That's available. You can use it and get things deployed in couple of minutes and start using our integration. And here is a picture, Michael, you have taken from NVCU, one of your recent visits. They have done exactly the same. They have many, many TAG probes. I don't know how many, but plenty of those. And they are using that TAG management app off the shelf. They downloaded it, use it, and they can operate it, or deploy it in like 30 minutes and start operating it. Just a brief look what it is about. We took a couple of videos. You obviously get that's the Dataminer screen here, the status information from each and every channel, parameters, but also the alarms that get created from the TAG probes. There are a couple of action buttons on those operational screens to assign one of those channels maybe to a certain multi-viewer head. There are other functionalities in there, and here you see a built-in low resolution multi-viewer output from
Thomas, when you say off-the-shelf kind of application, that means they can download the application, but they can also customize it for their specific needs, right? It's low code, so they don't need to know C code.
And that's another good point. You can download, use it as it is, as you see it here. That's like the default app, but there's also an edit button available. And when you want to use this as your foundation, then move on, feel free to do so. You can do it yourself. All you need to know is a little bit about Dataminer. You don't have to know anything about coding. You don't have to be a developer. Those are low-code applications with a little bit of scripting and some drag and drop operations you can evolve.
And here, learning Dataminer is actually fun because you go on your, how do you call it? The dojo?
Dojo, we call it.
Dojo. And then the more you participate there, you get points and you get t-shirts for those.
T-shirts, stickers. We have a swag shop. You need to figure it out at IBC, I hope, or online. That's another possibility. What you see here, those are a few more operational screens that come off the shelf, changing a layout, things you need to do as an operator day to day, edit the layout positions, changing the inputs and so forth without needing any training. Those apps are really supposed to be as simple to operate as possible for operational people without any training. Then we had some requests. This was created based on customer requests, obviously, to be able to override UMDs. And we provided a simple user interface. If people want to overlay a UMD here, bitrate, codec, color space, the title, the resolution, all you do, you click around for a few seconds, and immediately top right, you see the UMD gets programmed into the TAG multi-viewer or configured. And in real time, we can control TAG instances. Last one here, also very obvious. People want to listen to the audio. Simple button, configure my audio, select the audio, decode the audio at the PC or laptop you are running that application. That's really the off-the-shelf one. And as you said, you can use that one as a foundation. We have that Dataminer low-code app framework, or you can start building your own app from scratch, or use us, Dataminer Professional Services, to help you building it, or get on Dojo, learn it. Plenty of combinations available. And I just picked a couple of more sample applications, screenshots, and that's one from a customer in the US. And what they have done, they run on a Magi playout. There's a Magi playout in the background. They do SRT contribution into that playout. You see on the lower level, there's a classic XY routing panel. This is routing SRT streams from a peer, in that case, main and backup streams with a simple take button. And they can also route to a TAG multi-viewer where they do checks on the signal quality. And top right, you see some audio selector that they can also decode the audio. That's one simple example, but helps operations for that customer a lot to simplify things. And you see what we have done here. This is not only controlling what they have done here, it's not only controlling TAG, but also controlling other third-party equipment, in that case, some peer chassis and equipment. And this is something customer has done on its own. Our team was not even involved. I was just reaching out and asked for a screenshot. Here is another example. I had to blur it a little bit. This is one of those horizontal layers we discussed, monitoring services horizontally. That's a customer being active in the sports market, and they have sports events during the weekend. Compression, then they convert it into uncompressed, and they monitor those. You see red and blue redundant streams coming from the field with some TEM equipment, but also with TAG services. And they are attached, dynamically attached to those services. Those services, they come and go. And horizontally, we monitor everything across different formats, being transport stream, uncompressed, and compressed again. And just another screenshot here. There was no alarm at the point I took it. This is the result we get from a TAG 2110 probe, checking the bitrate, checking the right format, and a lot more in the background. Simple use case again, but showing how operational user interfaces are looking like in reality, because those are our customer examples. Then I have 2 or 3 more examples. That's again NBC in the US. Plenty of different teams using plenty of different Dataminer applications on different operational seats. And here is an example for people being in playout. Again, they have an Amagi playout. They have a little touchscreen down there. You see that. What are they using it for? And up there is a TAG multi-viewer. As you can see, they call it break-in sources. Usually, the playout application runs 24/7, plays from a player X or player Y, or they use live inputs. And in case there is an emergency happening or something went wrong with the playout automation, they can loop in break-in sources. Break-in sources are sources that are coming from a 2110 network managed by Navion Video iPath in that case. We can control those. But before they go live with those break-in sources, they want to give those sources a quick check, and that's exactly what they do here. So they check the source for good video, for good audio on the TAG multi-viewer, and then with another click.
You can see in the right lower corner there, it's the new QC station from TAG. It's new functionality that we introduced a couple months ago. Actually gives you in one single tile, multi-view tile output, all the information operator needs, the transport stream layer, ATR 101 to 90, and more details about the actual video, the audio, captions, Scotty markers, Nielsen watermark, and more. And on the left side of the screen, you see the new waveform and spectroscope and other graphs to help with the actual video quality QC testing.
Not the best resolution there, colleague of mine.
Yeah.
Sure, I guess that's what you were talking about. And here's just another, on the left-hand side, another app they use on a different desk. And that one originated from again, off-the-shelf application for Mevion video iPath control. So we have an app that can control video iPath. And they took that one and tweaked it slightly. Up there you see all the sources, thousands of those. And down there, they replaced all the destinations they have in iPath with only 2. And those 2 destinations are exactly the destinations that are routing the signals they want to QC and QA upfront with your new waveform functionality. So it's hundreds of sources, only 2 destinations. Those are RTP sources, SRT sources. And that's very specific to dedicated desk for operators that have one task to do. They use those dedicated low-code applications. You see, simplified, not too complex, with another functionality to change the audio that you want to decode and measure, especially on multi-program transport streams. There's plenty of audio you can simply select.
It's a very important point you touched, the RTP and the SRT, but we also support a whole bunch of different protocols and video formats. And the cool thing about the QC station that you can QC any of those protocols. You can QC your original 2110 stream and then QC the same video in JPEG XS and then TS and HLS. So all of those can be QC'd with a single tool. That really gives the power, and not only on the ground, but also in the cloud. That picture is actually of a stream coming off of the cloud.
Super flexible.
The last one I have here, that's not an operational interface, that's more an engineering overview. Again, a Dataminer screen where we provision event channels with a customer in the US, where they also use multiple TAG probes for multi-point probing across their streaming platform. And just a little bit, how does it work? First of all, we get information from a scheduling system, manifest files, which channel should be up, when, and where. And based on that fact, we provision TAG instances dynamically right before the event channel starts and deprovision it again when the event channel stops. Then we scan the network based on the manifest file and configure the TAG instances to have the right channels to monitor ready. Look then into the details of those channels, configure those. Also important, we set the right thresholds on the TAG multiviewer because the alarmings might be different depending on the channel. It makes a difference if you have an HD or UHD channel, to give a simple example on the bitrate you expect. And last but not least, this was point number 4 here, we also configure some of the multi-viewers. So in short, what we do, we use automation here for service provisioning. Service provisioning includes TAG probes, but also a lot of other equipment. And that is fully automated. Here you just see a screen for the engineering team to configure that automation. But what we do here, we provide then 2 operations, a fully configured operational environment with the right provisioned TAG probes, with the right configuration on it, and with all the signals they need. And at the end of the event, everything gets decommissioned again, and the TAG probes go back into the pool of resources which are available for the next event.
Isn't that great when the product has an amazing API and you can completely automate it? I think we have something like 4 minutes left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
let's see. We have any questions?
Yeah, I think I've got a few questions here that I'll throw at you, but yeah, quick point. That's really good, Thomas. Thanks for sharing that with us. It really showed like a unified monitoring, control, and automation, what you can do with Dataminer and TAG. And to your point, Michael, having open APIs that you can drive everything between these platforms. It makes it super flexible. It's really cool. Okay, so let's go to some questions. Thank you everyone for hanging in with us. We appreciate your time is very precious, so we're very thankful that you joined us today. So let's see if we can get through all the questions I have for Michael and Thomas. So we've got one here saying that we use Dataminer to create our reports and dashboards. The data on stream quality comes from TAG. In the event of a possible incident, is it possible to have the video snapshot transmitted from TAG to Dataminer as a video snippet?
So yes, we do have a functionality that can capture the video in case of an event. You set it up through the threshold. You can decide what types of events will generate the capture. You set an agent to write to a remote storage device, and then we'll just do the capture, provide all the information about the stream, the DTS, and then we will upload it to a shared storage device. And from there, you can implement into your Dataminer app. I guess Thomas would know better
Yeah.
how to actually pull the files and the captures.
That should work. Certainly depends a bit on the format, how you store it. Is it high res, low res? As I can say, as long as you can decode it in a browser, we can also somehow embed it. Or worst case, we could just link to a third-party decoder if it's something uncompressed high res that you cannot easily decode on a web browser.
And we do have an actual video player inside the Dataminer playing live video from TAG. Because we support some protocols like WebRTC that are supported in NHLS, that natively supported in browsers, so that allows you to actually see the live video from TAG in Dataminer.
The examples you have seen, I guess this is also mostly HLS, what our customers are using there.
Okay, I'm going to go on to the next question. Automation is a big topic here. So how can an infrastructure monitoring system like Dataminer be integrated with a video monitoring solution like TAG and put degraded streams in front of operators?
I guess, two ways we can.
Right?
Yeah, like what you see a lot in modern MCR environments, you don't want to have each and every stream up and running and have 5,000 tiles in an ideal world. Maybe a bit exaggerating. You don't have to see any stream. You only want to see the ones which need attention. So maybe ideally you have a black screen, and then when
monitoring by exception,
identifies there is a problem, we bring it up. So we can bring it up either as an HLS stream in the browser, or maybe better, we configure an external multi-viewer output to route the affected signals into, we often call it a penalty box multi-viewer output on different probing points. And that would allow you to go through the service from left to right and hopefully see where the signal gets degraded or starts having a problem.
It's definitely a penalty box kind of use case where we pop up the video that has an issue. And we're actually working on a feature that will add ability to pop up entire workflow of those video streams and see it in one single layout view.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more question. We're running out of time. This looks like a meaty one. So most challenging, my opinion, is the speed of response. What we were talking about before, actively pushing data and not having to pull data, is very important for us. And we are struggling a lot with this issue. Manufacturers have to concentrate on that rather than only relying on old protocols like SNMP, etc. I think that's a statement more than a question.
I totally agree with this statement. SNMP is old. It makes me feel old because I spent so much time with even writing applications back in like 25 years ago for SNMP monitoring. But today we have great protocols. All the data that we send out of TAG it can come in a JSON format. There is tons of different protocols that we support to send the data, JSON raw data. We also have interface with Kafka. It's really up to to you how you want to consume the data. The way we integrate with Skyline is one example where in this case they pull the data through our API, but we have tons of push interfaces that we can send the data to any destination.
And importantly, that push data is in real time as well. We're a real-time media platform.
Absolutely.
So as it
Everything TAG
happens,
does real time.
you're not waiting for 30 seconds to hear about it. Okay, look, I think that is all the time we have for this. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone on the call, thank you for joining us as well. Michael, thanks for joining us. If you can see the
Thank
slides,
you.
come and see TAG and Dataminer at IBC. I hear there's going to be beer on the stalls at some point, so go there every day just in case to get a free beer if you're there. Thanks everyone for joining. Really appreciate it. We will send everyone who registered a recording of this. If you've got questions that we were unable to answer in the time, please reach out to us at info@tagvs.com. Any of your questions from today's session, or ping us, find us on LinkedIn and send us your questions directly. We'd love to answer them. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation. It's been fantastic. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you in
And
Amsterdam.
see you next week.
It is.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.